Hi. In the last lesson, we looked at how we could use for loops to iterate through items in a list. In this lesson, we'll learn another way to do this. Our 5 students are still waiting in line to get into school. We learned how a for loop can be helpful to repeat commands by accessing each item in a list using the value of I. Let's learn another way we can complete this task. Instead of using the syntax for I in range, we can actually simplify this to just repeat an action once for each item found in a list, instead of accessing the items using the value of I. We can use the syntax for item in list, where item is a variable that correlates to each item in a list one by one, and list name is the list we want to iterate through. This will repeat the set of commands once for each item in the list. Let's see how. On line 1, we are creating our list of students. On line 2, we have written for person in names. Person is the variable we are using to keep track of each item in the list one by one, and names is the list we want to iterate through. The variable person takes on the value of the first item in the list, which in this case is John. We enter the loop and the command inside is completed, so John is printed to the console. We return back to line 2, and the person variable takes on the value of the second item in the list, which is Mia. Mia is then printed to the console. Notice that we are not having to use index values to access this item in the list. We simply use the variable person that is storing that value itself. We return back, and person becomes Leo, which is printed to the console. This process repeats with person holding the value Reina and printing it to the console, and then repeating one last time with the value of Remy printing to the console. After the last item in the list is accessed, the loop ends. Looping over lists in this way is very helpful because the loop is always only accessing the items in the list. So if a value is removed, the list will not break. What if we wanted to alter the value of each name in the list? If, in this case, we want to print each name using all uppercase letters, this will work perfectly fine. We are taking the value at each item in the list and printing that value using uppercase letters. Note that this is not actually changing any items that exist in the list, just printing an altered version of each item. Now it gets more complicated if we are trying to actually change the items in the original list. If we try to use this program to actually set each item in the list to an uppercase version of the item, this will not work. In fact, nothing about the original list will be changed with this program, and when we print the list on line 4, we will see the original list we started with. This is because when we use this type of a loop to access items in the list, we are actually only accessing a reference to the item, not the item itself. Don't worry if this is confusing. It is a higher level concept that we won't cover too much. Just know that using a for loop to access items this way will not change any of the original items in the list. So is there a way we can update the items in the list? Yes, the workaround here is to use a for loop using the range keyword. In this type of a loop, items are accessed directly, so we are able to alter the value of each item. This is one case where a for loop using the range keyword and index values would be a better choice than a for loop by item. Let's look at another case where a for loop using the range keyword is a better choice. If we want to print a numbered list using this type of a loop, will this work? No. This will cause an error because the value of person is not a number. Is there another way we can do this? Yes, a workaround for this would be to create a variable that holds a numerical value and use that value to number the list, increasing the value by 1 on each iteration. A note here is that if you are needing to use the numerical value of the index of an item, as we are here, looping over the list using the range function and the value of I is a better choice. If you are simply needing to access the values of items in a list, looping over the list this way is the way to go. In this lesson, we learned how to loop over items in a list using the for item in list syntax.